Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Was Left for Dead by Team 7 Chunin Exam Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. After the carnage displayed the unfinished bridge, which included Haku and Zabuza's dead bodies lying next to each other. Kakashi and Team 7 decided to head back to Inari and Tsunami's house. All was quiet with the members of Team 7, and all of them reflecting on the day's events. Sasuke thinking about how to get stronger than others so he would not get knocked out by enemy nin. Haku had laid quite a beating on Sasuke, even with Sasuke using his Sharingan, which was another thought he was pondering. In another room, Sakura was replaying the events of the day and how useless she was. Replaying the events, she discovered that she wasn't the only useless one during the fight. Outside of the house though was Naruto, who was meditating. Naruto had never taken meditation so seriously before. Naruto was trying to contact the Kyuubi and talk to it. All of a sudden a noise was heard as a person was exiting the house. Naruto peeked his eyes open to see who it was and he saw pink hair approaching him. He thought he could go back into a meditative mode and that Sakura was going to go by him on a walk into town or towards the bridge, but after 30 seconds more, he noticed that she was standing over him and glaring down at him. "Hello Sakura, you seem mad for some reason," Naruto stated. He was wondering why Sakura seemed so mad. Sakura didn't say a word for a while. A long awkward silence was present before Sakura finally made up her mind as she found the words that she wanted to say. "Naruto," Sakura said in a condescending tone, "why didn't you help Sasuke during your fight against Haku?" Sakura seemed to be getting angrier by the second just thinking over the sequence of the fight today. "Sakura, why are you saying that I didn't help during the fight?" Naruto tried to get a read off her face, but she had a blank expression on her face. "Surely you saw that when Haku's ice chamber broke that I had chakra flowing around me." Naruto was beginning to get angry thinking about Haku and how his death occurred. "Naruto, you always have and always will be useless." Naruto had a look of surprise on his face as Sakura stated this. "You are Konoha's #1 hyperactive knuckleheaded ninja and always be that way. Nobody will ever take you seriously because you never take anything seriously." Naruto began to shake and anger was rising within him. "You don't belong on this squad, Sasuke, or I don't want you here. Kakashi-sensei is the only reason you are still on this team and I refuse to work with you anymore. You have been an annoyance from day one and I don't want you on my squad anymore and neither does Sasuke." Sakura began to walk away and Naruto had his jaw nearly on the ground due to the way that Sakura just told him off. "Sakura, wait, why are you doing this to me?" Naruto was beginning to get desperate. Sakura is somebody who he liked, not only as a crush but as a friend as well. "Naruto, you just have got on my nerves. You did nothing against Haku today, and you attacked Haku after Sasuke had already worn him out. Haku was an easy target and you could trap him with the shadow clone jutsu. I just don't want you on my squad anymore. You are annoying and will always be that way in my book. I will never, and I repeat never, be your friend." Sakura took a few steps towards the house before she turned around towards Naruto. "Naruto, you will always be the dead last. You will never grow up and out of this childish shell that you are in. Your ninja skills will always be on a genin level and you will see as people like Sasuke, Kiba, Shino, myself and the other 4 grow out of our genin level and become Chunin and then Jonin. You will have to watch us rise to the top while you stay at the bottom with your pranks and childish games." Sakura stormed off and closed the door to go back into the house. Naruto just sat. His thoughts became dormant all of a sudden. Nothing was going through his head as he was just in shock after what he saw and heard. He sat in the same position for another minute before he began to regain his thoughts and senses. Naruto felt betrayed. This wasn't the first time in Naruto's life that he felt betrayed. He had been betrayed before by the village, for he was the vessel for the 9-tailed fox aka the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi had attacked Konohagakure 12 years ago and it took the life of the 4th Hokage to seal it away in a newborn baby. That newborn baby just happened to be Naruto. "Hey kid, are you going to sit there all day or are you finally going to talk to me?" Naruto's eyes shot wide open in surprise as he recognized the voice. He had just heard the voice for the first time today, but it was a voice that he would remember for the rest of his life and never forget it. Naruto slipped back into his meditative state and came face to face with the Kyuubi. So Kyuubi, you finally decided to come out of your cage and talk. Naruto saw the Kyuubi, but it was the face only. A shadow could be seen behind him and Naruto quickly assumed that it was the body of the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi had large red eyes with a shade of brighter red around the eyes. Naruto's eyes wandered down the face of the Kyuubi to the teeth. The teeth were very large and had a canine shape to them. Two large fangs were very prominent though. Both teeth were at the location where one's jaw would start curving to the side at a larger angle. Yes, Naruto, I have decided to come out and talk to you for a while. I know of your newfound aspirations to begin training seriously and I have now decided to come out and help you. Naruto observed the Kyuubi, but Kyuubi could tell Naruto had something was on his mind. So Gaki, what is on your mind? Naruto looked up in surprise that the Kyuubi would notice such a minute detail with Naruto. Kyuubi, why did you choose to come out at that moment? I had been trying to call upon you for the last 20 minutes yet you did not appear and I wasn't able to come within to be able to talk to you. Kyuubi smirked. Well, if the thing could smirk, that action with its facial expression would be labeled as a smirk. So Gaki, you do possess intelligence and observation skills. Very well, I'll tell you exactly why I came out at that very moment. Naruto looked at the Kyuubi expectantly and waited for the answer. I feed off your anger, Naruto. When you get angry is when you lose your emotions and become unstable. The seal on you becomes weaker and my chakra is able to leak out and I'm able to feed you power. Thus, you become more like me. Your fighting style and emotions become like mine. One day, if you survive that long, you should be able to absorb all my chakra and control it as your will. My main reason for appearing to you and telling you all of this is simple. As long as you or one of your offspring survive, then I can still live. For now, your fate is mine as well. So me guiding you along and encouraging you to take this new training to heart and this will help me. Survive, Naruto stated quickly. Kyuubi was in shock that Naruto would cut him off. I understand, Kyuubi, you want to survive longer and you are going to survive through me. Naruto, I'm going to warn you of something though, that Uchiha boy is danger. His chakra tells of anger and revenge. Although you have some sort of bonding with this team, you should consider going out on your own and start training on your own. Also, since you are turning a new leaf, I'm going to lend you some of my abilities such as a keen sense of sensing chakra. Meaning you are going to be able to tell and track people easier. You are also going to get a stronger sense of smell. Although this doesn't sound like a big advantage, it's going to help you in battle. Thanks, Kyuubi, I'll be talking to you again sometime soon. I'm going to consider what you said about training on my own. With that, Naruto opened his eyes again and snapped out of his meditative state. His feeling of anger returned after remembering what Sakura just said to him about the fight that he had against Haku today. Remember, kid, I can also communicate with you like this. This personally is easier for me, but just make sure that you don't say things out loud. You want to stay as normal to the kids your age. They don't know about me like their parents do. Naruto took this comment and let it soak in before getting up and heading back into the house. Naruto opened the door slowly and made sure it didn't make too much noise. He waved to Tsunami quickly before heading off to find a certain somebody. He quickly checked the house and found the person that he was looking for. The person he was looking for was talking to Inari. Inari had a look of surprise on his face as he opened his mouth and started to speak. Really, that happened? He really did do that? Asked Inari with a look of shock and trying to picture a mental image of the event occurring. Naruto smiled when he saw Inari look so happy. Naruto thought about his past and compared it to Inari's past. He remembered Inari when he first met him. Inari basically was still grieving the death of a male figure in his life. To Naruto, this was a foreign feeling. Naruto never had a father figure and still to this day doesn't know who his father is. Naruto, though, could understand the pain and suffering of being picked on as the boy told the story of how he was rescued after being pushed off a small dock and not being able to swim. Having peers reject you and make fun of you like you are nothing and never be anything. Actually, Naruto had just experienced this feeling. Naruto became so engrossed in his thoughts that he didn't see his target turn toward Naruto and usher him to come sit down. Ah, Kakashi-sensei and Inari, it's nice to see the both of you together and having a good time. Naruto gave both of them a genuine smile before choosing to speak again. Inari, I heard Tsunami wanted you to do something for her. She told me that it would only take about 5 minutes. Inari began to grumble about having to go help his mother while Kakashi was telling exciting stories. Naruto could tell that Kakashi was entertaining him and had Inari completely enthralled with whatever story he was telling. Inari, when you come back, I'll also be here and Kakashi-sensei will continue to tell his exciting stories. Naruto gave Inari another genyun as Inari quickly left the room to take the least possible time so he could be back in time for Kakashi to continue his story. Kakashi-sensei, there is something that I need to talk to you about. Naruto looked directly into his one eye. Kakashi noted that Naruto looked serious and quickly asked Naruto what Naruto wanted to talk about. Naruto, what is it that you wanted to talk about? Is it something about what happened today? Kakashi inquired. Actually, Kakashi, it is something that happened today, but it isn't what you think it is. Kakashi's one visible eyebrow raised in the air as if wondering what Naruto could possibly be talking about. Today Sakura came up to me and told me that I was completely useless during today's mission, Naruto spat out. What? Kakashi said in a surprised tone of voice. Kakashi looked down for a minute and then spoke. Don't tell her this, but she was actually the useless member of the team today. All she did was protect Tazuna and she almost failed at that job. When Zabuza launched himself towards her, she completely froze up like you did with those two Chunin when we left for the village hidden in the mist. Naruto laughed at that memory, even though it was a very recent memory. Naruto vowed to himself that he would never do that again in battle. Even in battles in which the opponent was stronger. Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi looked up as Naruto said his name as almost if he were depressed. This was not the ninja that Kakashi knew. This ninja was depressed and had scars on the inside. Not the hyperactive ninja that didn't have a care in the world. She said that she and Sasuke did not want me on this squad anymore and that you were the only reason I was on this squad. She just completely put me down and labeled me as the person that will always be taken as a joke because I didn't take things seriously and always be the dead last out of all the ninja in Konoha. I don't understand why she would just lash out against you like that unless she really felt that you did nothing, which in reality we know you did and used strategy to beat Haku before Haku sacrificed himself against my lightning blade. Kakashi stated, while flicking his eyes side to side trying to remember details about the fight. Anyway, I'm over it, but I want to train alone for a while. Kakashi looked again in surprise as his one eye widened. My gut instinct told me that I should train on my own for a while. I just have a feeling that if I am able to train alone for a while then I will be able to be a better shinobi than I am right now. I see, mumbled Kakashi. No offense Naruto, but if Sakura is going to be like this then you should take some time off from our missions and just go out to a training ground and try to perfect your ninjutsu and taijutsu. You have shadow clones so that should help you quite a bit though. You haven't scratched the surface of what the clones are really meant to do though Naruto. This time it was Naruto who looked up in surprise as Kakashi was about to tell him something about the shadow clones that he didn't know. The shadow clones are more for information gathering than an actual offense or defensive, although it is good for diversions, offensive attacks and defensive maneuvers. The shadow clones are for information gathering due to the person who used the clones taking all the information in that was gathered from the clones. Although Naruto, I say use this wisely because if you get too many clones you can have an information overload with your brain and you could lose all the information that you gathered and then lose some more due to the brain needing time to heal. I would recommend that you go to the library and read up on how to do jutsus on different elements and how to improve your ninjutsu skills and taijutsu skills. Chakra control is important, but the tree climbing exercise on larger trees should help with that slowly, or maybe even climbing mountains without using your hands will help. Just be careful on that though. Kakashi was observing Naruto as he was talking about how to improve his skills and noticed that Naruto really was listening to what he was saying and taking it all in. I can really tell he has changed. I would like to have him in this team for a while longer, but it's crucial that he gets this alone time away from distractions. An image of Sakura came to mind and Kakashi frowned. I will talk to the Hokage about you taking some time off in the situation. I'm sure he will understand and will let you go train instead of being on a bunch of D-ranked missions with us. To tell you the truth, D-ranked and C-ranked missions can be accomplished by me alone. This will improve Sasuke's and Sakura's teamwork with each other. Kakashi sighed and then said, either that or it will be an amusing sight for me to see Sakura attempt to flirt with Sasuke and get turned down. She really doesn't realize that he is not interested in her. Naruto bowed to his sensei and then said, thank you Kakashi-sensei, you have helped me with my problem. In a short period of time I'm really starting to trust you much more than I did during our first mission. Now if you could excuse me, I have used a lot of chakra and need to go to sleep early. Naruto turned to go back into his bed when Kakashi appeared beside him. Naruto, if you ever need help or need somebody to talk to, then just come and find me. I'm your sensei, so I will try to answer all your questions to the best of my abilities. Naruto turned and looked at Kakashi but then smiled. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. You can be assured that I am going to be the best, believe it. Kakashi chuckled as Naruto used his most commonly used expression. It showed that Naruto still had his old fun-loving side, but it was apparent it was going to be hidden during this time of transformation into a more serious ninja. Now go off to bed Naruto before you fall asleep walking towards your room. Naruto laughed at this comment and then headed down the hallway towards his bedroom. Just as Naruto left, Inari came back in and began to talk to Kakashi again. He was asking about his eye and what was hidden behind that mask. Kakashi sighed and thought to himself. Guess that means I won't get to finish those last 4 chapters of Ika Ika tonight. I was really wondering how the main character was going to get the information out of the woman spy from the opposing village. Time skipped to the next morning. As Team Kakashi walked across the Great Naruto Bridge, Naruto turned around to see the creation and the sign exclaiming the name of the bridge. Sakura snorted. As inner Sakura said, if the bridge is anything like the ninja, then I give it 4 years top before it collapses. Wait, make that 3 years. Sakura had a smile on her face after hearing inner Sakura say that. She looked over at Sasuke, who was staring at the ground as she wondered what he was thinking about. Sakura then noticed that it was quiet among the 4 ninjas. This was a rarity, especially since Naruto was on the team. The only sound was Kakashi's laughing when he read something funny out of Ika Ika. While walking away from the Great Naruto Bridge, Naruto said that bridge will stand for a long time and provide a relief to the villagers. Naruto thought, that's much like my future. Once I get back and start training on my own, then I'm going to be a great ninja and provide the village with the resources necessary for all the citizens to live a happy life. The bridge was just another motivator to Naruto. He had a lot to prove, especially to the whole village of Konoha, and he was going to need a lot of training to get to level he wanted to be at. Of course, the shadow clones are going to speed this process up by 3 to 4 times, maybe even 5. Naruto began to daydream about one day being Hokage, having a lovely wife and protecting the village he loved and the people he loved. Naruto was willing to do anything to make this dream a reality. He knew though, it all started with going back to Konoha and becoming the top genin, which was going to be a hard task by itself. The trip from the land of waves back to Konoha was one that was maintained by awkward silence between all 3 of the team members. Both Naruto and Sasuke seemed to be very deep in thought the whole way back to Konoha. If Kakashi didn't know any better, he would have thought that they were both completely on autopilot. Kakashi knew though, that both Sasuke and Naruto were both concentrating on the abilities that they had learned while fighting Haku, but both were still in a mode that if the team gets attacked that they would quickly react. Sakura on the other hand was trying to get Sasuke to snap out of his autopilot mode. Little did Sakura know, Sasuke was aware that she was trying to get his attention, but he didn't have time to worry about a pest like her. Sasuke was trying to figure out how to improve his Sharingan. He knew it was a powerful weapon that ran in the Uchiha clan, and he had even seen one in action with Kakashi. Kakashi noted that Sasuke was pondering something and didn't need Sakura bothering him. Finally Kakashi decided to do something about it. Sakura, why don't you get back up here at the front in case of an attack? Sakura quickly complied with his request and made her way back up towards the front, near Kakashi. Naruto and Sasuke brought up the rear. Kakashi knew that both of them could defend and attack from back there if need arise. After another day of walking, Team 7 arrived back at Konoha. Both Sasuke and Naruto were still in autopilot mode. The trip had been boring for Kakashi. Once Sakura realized that Sasuke was going to be talking anytime soon, she tried to talk to Kakashi for a while. Kakashi really wanted to finish up those last chapters of Ika Ika, but only got through one chapter between looking for attacks and paying attention to Sakura. At least he was trying to be nice. In all honesty, Kakashi thought that Sakura was one of the most hopeless people on the planet. She was both boring and annoying, and to boot, had an obsession with Sasuke. Kakashi could already see that Sasuke was never going to return the feelings that Sakura had for him. In a way, for Kakashi it was irony, because it was the same way that Sakura would never return the feelings that Naruto used to harbor for her. So in a sense, for Kakashi, he saw it as poetic justice. Kakashi greeted the guards at the gates of Konoha as they let him in. Kakashi and Team 7 walked in and the gates closed behind them. Kakashi turned around and looked at them. "You guys can go back to your houses now. If I need any of you for any reason, then I will come by and get you. As you know, I have to go report to the Hokage on this mission, so stay where I can get you if I need to get you." For that last part, Kakashi looked directly at Naruto, fully knowing that the Hokage would have to speak to Naruto regarding Kakashi advising Naruto to take time off from Team 7 to train on his own. Kakashi quickly disappeared, leaving the three genins at the gate. Naruto was the first to act as he turned away and began to head back towards his apartment. Sasuke was the next to start to move but was quickly stopped by Sakura. "Hey Sasuke." Sasuke turned his head to look at Sakura, who was beginning to try to get closer to him, obviously walking fast than he was. "Do you want to go do something later today?" Sasuke was chuckling in his head. This girl never gave up despite how much he showed he didn't like her. She was completely obsessed with him and would never give up on him no matter how much damage he did to her. "No Sakura, I don't have time to do much today. I've got a lot of stuff to think about." Sasuke turned his head back to face forward and walked off towards his estate, leaving Sakura standing there near the gates. "What will I have to do to get my Sasuke-kun?" Sakura thought to herself. "You're pathetic, kid. You need to take a more proactive approach, plus this is going to take a little time. He's not going to be going to another squad anytime soon," remarked inner Sakura. After inner Sakura had said that, Sakura began to go home. At the Hokage's office, "Report," said Sarutobi from his desk. "Hokage-sama, the mission to the land of the waves was a success." "That is good, Hatake. Now report on how everybody in the squad did and how they are coming along with their skills." "Hokage-sama, the mission regarding Tazuma the bridge builder should have been marked as an A- ranked mission since we were attacked by Momoichi Zabuza and another ninja by the name Haku. I had to fight Momoichi twice during the trip. I defeated him both times. The first time Haku came and rescued him. Haku disguised himself as a hunter nin and took his body away. I soon came to the conclusion afterwards that Haku hit Momoichi in an area that was not fatal. I apologize for not seeing that sooner. The second time was on the bridge where Haku was killed by me and Momoichi succumbed to injuries suffered both at the hands of me and a large amount of men who were summoned by Gato. So Gato was behind the force trying to stop the bridge building," replied Sarutobi, who seemed like he knew that was coming. "Yes, Gato was behind this, but Momoichi killed him before he died." "I see," said Sarutobi, still not showing a great deal of emotion. "Alright then, how did your team do during this mission?" Sarutobi had been wondering this question since there had been two ninja instead of one that confronted Team 7 and Tazuna. The team did exceptionally well at the end of the mission. During the first fight they didn't do much, but Naruto and Sasuke displayed good teamwork. The second fight they beat Haku with Haku using some sort of Kekkei Genkai to control water and trapping them in an ice chamber of sorts. Naruto leaked out some of the fox's chakra though. That is something we need to keep an eye on in the future, and Sasuke has a Sharingan now. It might be new to him, but it's a great asset in battle, as you know. Yes, I'm aware of the Sharingan and how it can help the user in battle. Naruto is another case though. As the fox leaks more chakra out, he becomes stronger. We need him to learn how to control the chakra. If he is able to accomplish that, then he might one day become Hokage. Kakashi smiled at this statement by the Hokage. Hokage-sama, there is one problem though with Naruto. Kakashi. What is that? Did he do something wrong on the mission? Sarutobi asked with a voice that was both demanding of an answer and eager to hear the answer. No, Naruto did very well on his first C-ranked mission and looks to have a bright future, but we have teamwork issues. Sakura Haruno, who is supposed to be the second strongest of the genin in our team, has lashed out at Naruto for not helping out in the battle against Haku. Sarutobi face fall to this news. She saw Sasuke, who endured some injuries in the fight, and then saw Naruto, who had no injuries due to the fox's healing powers, and assumed Naruto did nothing but wait until the end to use shadow clones and trap Haku. Great. Why did I know this would happen? Said Sarutobi with a looking of understanding on his face. I spoke with both Sakura and Naruto. Sakura doesn't understand that the fox's abilities make him look like he doesn't have a scratch on him, and she won't until she sees it in battle. So I advised Naruto to take some time off from the squad and go train on his own. Naruto has turned over a new leaf though. He seems like he is really going to handle the life of the ninja with a serious attitude. Hearing this news made Sarutobi smile. So how are you going to get him to train on his own while you handle the other two? Questioned Sarutobi, eager to hear Kakashi's answer again. I'm going to let him use my access to the Konoha library, where he can read up on different jutsus and fighting techniques. Of course, since most of our missions are D-ranked anyway, I will still be in town to help him. So I will train Sakura and Sasuke first and then go check on Naruto. This will provide me with a team that works together, but also it's going to really strengthen Naruto. So by letting Naruto freelance on topics and learn whatever he wants is going to help him. Naruto does have a tendency to not pay attention to something when it is boring to him. That does explain his lack of genjutsu knowledge. Alright, I approve of this, but I want to know what you are going to train him on. Kakashi's eyes moved during this, resembling a smile. Sarutobi thought he was smiling but couldn't be sure since Kakashi wears that mask over half his face. I'm going to give him the element test early. Naruto should be positive for at least 2 elements. Likely it will be wind and earth, but it might be wind and water. I'm not completely sure of it. I know, however, though Naruto won't test positive for fire, but he has the fox, which is of fire, so through the fox he will be able to do fire jutsus. I also have reason to believe he has contacted the fox. What? He's already contacted the fox? That would explain why he has turned over a new leaf. Sarutobi was surprised and paused before he said that last part, making sure he was really sure of that. Alright, you're dismissed, but I'm going to want to see Naruto. I will go get him right now, Hokage-sama. And with that, Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. This is going to be an interesting conversation, to say the least. I'm starting to get too old for this job, thought Sarutobi as he leaned back in his chair while looking at all the paperwork on his desk. It seems I can never escape this either. Sarutobi sighed as he looked at the pile and then decided to do some before Kakashi got back with Naruto. Naruto's apartment. Kakashi appeared in front of Naruto's apartment door. Kakashi stayed in his position for few moments and then decided to knock on the door. Kakashi then knocked on the door and waited for a few more moments again. Naruto opened the door and saw his sensei. Naruto wore a smile on his face, in which you could tell Naruto was excited to see Kakashi-sensei. So Kakashi-sensei, I can tell that the old man wants to see me. Yes, Naruto, your assumptions are correct. I am now supposed to escort you to the Hokage Tower and be there when this meeting between you two happens. Naruto had a questioning look on his face. Why do you have to be there, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi chuckled while thinking to himself, either that Naruto has already forgotten about their conversation a few days ago or how ignorant he was. Naruto, this is likely about you staying back to train on your own. Remember though that this has as much to do with you as me. I'm still the leader of Team 7 and the Jonin in charge of you. Naruto just nodded as both student and teacher began walking towards the Hokage Tower. Kakashi sometimes preferred to move towards the tower slowly, but this time he had no choice. Naruto couldn't transport himself from point A to point B quickly like he could, so Kakashi just took the time to absorb the scenery and sights of Konoha. Hey Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi looked down at Naruto as Naruto tried to get his attention. What is it, Naruto? Kakashi replied in curiosity. Do you think that the old man will accept my request to train on my own? Naruto asked, putting both hands behind the back of his neck, assuming as many call it, the Naruto posture. I don't know, Naruto. It could go either way. Kakashi said with uncertainty, especially on the first part. Kakashi and Naruto continued walking towards the Hokage Tower, both knowing that their fate could soon change. Naruto knew that if he was to remain with Sasuke and Sakura, especially Sakura, he would have to learn to control his anger levels, plus Kakashi hadn't taught the team many other things since the tree walking exercise. If I stay with Sakura and Sasuke, I really have to learn how to control my anger and the fox's chakra. I may get so angry that all of a sudden takes over, and then the existence of both Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno may be wiped off the face of the earth. Just imagine how the village would react to that news. Uzumaki kills last Uchiha, an innocent girl. It wouldn't be a pretty sight, Naruto. I know that I can easily dominate both of those teammates of yours, but I think you are underestimating the Uchiha boy and especially the Sharingan. Naruto was a little stunned that the fox would talk to him while he was lost in his thoughts. Naruto. Naruto, Kakashi said, trying to snap Naruto out of his inner thoughts. Huh, replied Naruto, clearly unaware to his surroundings as he was lost in his thoughts and listening to what the fox had to say. Naruto, we are here. Seems that you were on autopilot again. Kakashi stressed the word again. I don't like this Naruto as much as the old one. Sure, Naruto was a little loud for my taste, but this one is completely withdrawn, it seems. Naruto definitely has something bothering him, but it isn't about Sakura and Sasuke, it is something other than that. The trip up to the Hokage Tower once in the building was much similar to the last part of the trip where Naruto seemed to be on autopilot and Kakashi was getting bored with the trek. Kakashi had nobody to talk to and he had finished the Ika book on the way back to Konoha. The new book was coming out in a few days and Kakashi was anticipating the release. Kakashi began thinking about the new book himself. The new Ika book is going to be released in the next few days. I'm going to have to take an off day just to get started on the book. Sasuke and Sakura will be able to handle themselves for a few days. What about Naruto though? I can always check on him without having to put the book down, so he will be fine as well. Kakashi abruptly ceased his thoughts to make sure they were going the right way. Once he knew they were going the right way, he went right back into his thoughts. I'm pretty sure that the Hokage is going to let him train on his own so that Naruto can be a good ninja for the village. I'm sure that the Hokage is training Naruto to be the 5th Hokage. I know that Konohamaru is also being raised to one day be Hokage. The Hokage himself says that Konohamaru is likely going to have a large amount of chakra, nowhere near close to Naruto's, but a lot of that chakra comes from the Kyuubi anyway. As Kakashi stopped his train of thinking, they arrived at the door of the Hokage's office. The Hokage sensed their presence from within the office. Come in, said Sarutobi. Kakashi walked back into the office, this time with Naruto at his side. Naruto had evidently snapped out of his train of thought as well because Naruto was alert and focused on the Hokage. Hi old man, Naruto said gleefully. Sarutobi sighed and put his hand on his face. Well, I guess some things don't change after all. I can definitely tell that there is something different about him, but he still acts like the old Naruto. Maybe it's only to the people he truly cares about and the others who have neglected him see the cold shell that has enveloped him, like Kakashi was talking about earlier. Must be hormones, after all he is still a teenager. So Naruto, Kakashi told me that you have changed somewhat and you're going to start taking the life of a shinobi seriously now. Naruto just nodded his head to Sarutobi's statement. Deep down, Naruto knew that this was going to be the beginning of a transformation. No longer would there be the troublemaking little kid, but a powerful shinobi who could not only use the shinobi arts but is the host of the powerful Kyuubi and can use its powers when necessary. Kakashi also recommended that you get some time alone to go train on your own. I agree with this plan of action. The main reason is that from what Kakashi has told me, Sasuke and Sakura need to be more cohesive as a unit, thus they need to improve their teamwork with each other. Naruto cringed at the mention of Sasuke's name and clenched his fists at the mention of Sakura's name. Kakashi noticed this and decided he needed to take action and say something fast before Naruto got too angry that the fox would take over. Listen, Naruto. You and Sasuke have far superior teamwork than Sasuke does with Sakura. I've come to a conclusion that Sasuke doesn't even consider Sakura a part of the squad because she is weak and shows no resolve to help you out in a dangerous situation. This of course is hypothetical and based on observation of Sasuke's behavior towards you and Sakura, but I'm pretty sure I am right. Naruto unclenched his fists, but Kakashi knew that he needed to explain some more on the team balance to Naruto. Because you and Sasuke consider each other to be rivals, you both have grown quickly and I'm proud of you. This also has done wonders to your teamwork as well. The whole behavior of trying to one-up each other works really well when you two are fighting together. I saw this during the fight with Zabuza when Sasuke used you as a weapon and then you surprised Zabuza with an attack from behind. Either way, both sides are going to benefit from you taking time off to train by yourself. Although, knowing Sasuke, he won't benefit at all from this because he will continue to ignore Sakura, just like she ignores you, Naruto. Sarutobi was listening carefully to this and began to think about how the village council would react if he ever told anybody or they found out that the Hokage made a decision for Team 7 that benefited the dead last on the team rather than benefit the last member and pride of the Uchiha clan. It would become a political mess and the village council would be asking for shinobi's heads on a platter. So Naruto, my final ruling for this training of yours is going to be an approval. I'm going to approve the training as long as you have the necessary resources to train on your own. Kakashi is going to help you out with that as well as checking in on you daily to make sure that you are making progress and are not eating ramen at Ichiraku's. Naruto smiled after that, but a sweat drop had formed on his face. Kakashi-sensei can't catch me at Ichiraku's at all. This isn't fair. I need my daily dose of ramen from there. I guess I'm going to have to learn to move quickly from place to place. I shouldn't have to do much reading on that subject. I can just imagine that if Kakashi-sensei catches me, then I won't be able to have ramen for the rest of my life. That will really speed me up. Naruto. Kakashi, you are both dismissed from here. Kakashi will escort you back to your apartment where he is going to run down the things that you need to accomplish during the time of your training. If you don't accomplish this, then a consequence will be rendered and you aren't going to like it. Kakashi walked over to Naruto while Sarutobi was finishing his statement and stood right next to him while he finished. After he finished, Kakashi said something to Naruto and then disappeared in a cloud of smoke. I have to get back to my house in 3 minutes or he's calling off the training. That's near impossible. It took me a while to get here anyway and that was walking. I guess I have to get going. Naruto walked by Sarutobi's desk and towards the windows. Bye, old man, you need to clean up your desk with all that paperwork lying around there. As Naruto finished that sentence, Naruto jumped out the window and quickly began to rapidly move towards his apartment. I was right. Some things never change about that kid. At Naruto's apartment, Kakashi was waiting for Naruto at his apartment. He was being serious by telling Naruto that if he didn't get back within 3 minutes then he would be calling off the training. Kakashi, though, fully expected Naruto to fully make it back in time though. Just as he thought about that, Naruto arrived at the front door, panting heavily and smiling as he knew he made it back in time. 2 minutes and 45 seconds, well done. Naruto nodded and still had that smile on his face as he put his hands behind his head. Kakashi smiled himself when he saw Naruto do this. Maybe it was just an unconscious thing that Naruto did, but it made him look more at ease. Do you know why I made you do that exercise, Naruto? Naruto shook his head no. Naruto was apparently still out of breath and didn't really want to talk right now and was more focused on getting the oxygen back to his lungs and regaining a normal breathing pattern. I did that because, when in a situation of emergency, a person can push themselves far beyond what they expect to do. The emergency situation kind of works like an alarm that allows the person to be notified of an emergency and helps the person unlock some sort of ability that can't be used when normally running, jumping, or even fighting. I knew that you would beat the allotted time, so I knew that I wouldn't have to cancel the training. This also served to show how much the training actually meant to you. If you hadn't made it by the time I set, then I knew that the training wasn't much of meaning towards you. Now I see that it is in fact important to you and I'm going to begin to help you with it. I understand Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto, but still panting. Now Naruto, we are going to go to the spot where you had your training match. I will accompany you there and I'm going to have you do something for me. Time skip to training ground 7. Naruto and Kakashi arrived at training ground number 7. Kakashi walked towards the monument where the names of all the fallen Konoha ninja were written. Kakashi went over and glanced at the monument before turning around to face Naruto quickly. Now Naruto, the reason I brought you here was so I can test your elemental affinities. Naruto only nodded his head as Kakashi continued his explanation. Kakashi brought out the elemental paper which he placed in his hand. Naruto, what you are going to do is center the chakra into your hands. The paper will react to what type of element you are affinitive to. This will allow you to do the ninjutsu of the element easier. Now watch as I do this. Kakashi took the paper into his hand and began to control chakra into the paper. The paper began to react to the chakra before it floated in the air for a few seconds and crumpled up. The paper crumpling up means that my elemental affinity is of Raiden. I'm able to do lightning attacks easier than other attacks. I'm able to control the attacks and they are stronger because of the affinity. However though, it takes a long time to master an element. It takes most shinobi years to master an element. So now I want you to take the paper that I have in my hand and centralize some chakra into it. It's going to float into the air and then a reaction will take place. Sometimes more than one reaction will take place, meaning that more than one elemental affinity is present but only a handful of ninja have more than one affinity. Naruto took the paper into his hand and began to centralize chakra into his hand. Ever since the tree walking exercise, Naruto has begun to control chakra better and is able to centralize the chakra to most parts of his body. The paper began to float into the air in front of Naruto. The paper fell a little bit before it split in two and then became damp. Naruto was in awe of how the paper had two different reactions while Kakashi began thinking to himself. I should have known that he would test positive for both Suiton water and Futon wind. Minato-sensei has passed on his affinities to Naruto. This is going to make Naruto very strong. I'm sure that he is able to do Kaden attacks through the fox. This means his only real weakness is Doden attacks. No wonder the Hokage is making sure Naruto gets good training. I bet he knew Naruto would test out for two affinities. Kakashi quickly finished his thought and began walking over towards Naruto, who was examining the paper lying on the ground. The two pieces of paper were damp and split in half perfectly. Naruto was touching it and looking at it in amazement. Naruto, you have tested positive for both Suiton and Futon affinities. This means that you are able to do the attacks with ease. You will be able to control the attacks easier than I can, just like I can control Raiden attacks easier than you. Now what you need to know is the elemental jutsu chart. Naruto nodded and then began speaking. Well, Kakashi-sensei, where am I going to be able to see the chart? I'm a Jonin level shinobi who has a genin team, meaning I have access to the scrolls at the Konoha library. These scrolls contain jutsus and charts to help control attacks. I will get you the chart to study and memorize, so you can know your strengths and weaknesses. Kakashi was about to say something else but thought better about it. I have been restricted to not tell him about the Kyuubi. I wish I could tell him about it and how if he lets the Kyuubi control him that he will be able to control Kaden attacks easier. I can't tell him that though, it's an S-class secret and I will suffer a lot of consequences for being the one who tells it to him. I'm sure he has made contact with the Kyuubi, likely with the Haku battle, especially with the burst of chakra that burned the ice dome Kekkei Genkai that Haku had. I don't think he is that far with talking to the Kaibui to know that he will be able to control Kaden attacks easier as well. Naruto, I have to go now and I'm going to the library now to get your supplies for your training. I won't be around during the day because I have to be with Sasuke and Sakura, but as soon as they are done I will come here and check on you. Naruto, I want you to train at this training ground every day until I approve you to train elsewhere. Naruto stared at Kakashi as he gave out the orders to not train anywhere else. Naruto was hoping he would be able to visit the different training grounds while he was training. Naruto had heard that each training ground was suited to train different aspects of a shinobi. Why do I feel more comfortable with him near the monument of the fallen Konoha leaf? Maybe he will read about it one day and come to appreciate the fallen shinobi as I do. It might also bring a sense of wariness when dealing with the Kyuubi when he sees all the names etched in after the attack on Konoha by the Kaibui. Kakashi quickly disappeared and Naruto was left staring at the training ground. He noted the wide open spaces and then the tight and narrow spaces where shinobi could barely fit through. He also observed the hiding positions and remembered the bell test that Kakashi gave Team 7. Naruto snorted loudly when he remembered how reckless he was during that exam. What was I thinking? Go ahead and scratch that. I wasn't thinking at all. Standing out there and letting Kakashi fight me and trying to be an equal to him, not a good idea. Not to mention that, but I was hit with the 1000 years of death jutsu and I have learned something from that. I never want to be hit with that again. That was painful and didn't feel very good. Oh well, enough thinking about that. It's time to go back to my apartment and catch a good 7 to 10 hour nap before the real training starts. Maybe I can stop by Ichiraku's on my way back to the apartment. Old man said nothing about being there today. Naruto began to slowly walk back into the town of Konoha. He noticed that all the people were pretty much staying away from him. Apparently they noticed his more cold and brooding attitude towards those who he does not like. To those he likes, he's the same old Naruto, but just a little more driven. Naruto was walking along the way to Ichiraku's when he noticed a box that was supposed to be camouflaged as rocks. The proportions were way off and it was easy to tell that somebody was hiding in it. Naruto played along with this and began to go on his way. The box of rocks, however, was following him and making a noise behind him. Naruto paused, turned around and looked at the box of rocks. That is about the worst disguise I have ever seen. The box of rocks sat there for a minute. You're good, boss, you're sharp as ever. All of a sudden the box of rocks had a gunpowder explosion and out popped out a little boy with a long green scarf around his neck. He had black hair and resembled the third Hokage in a way. Konohamaru, how many times have I told you, nobody will ever fall for the box of rocks trick. Konohamaru looked down and kicked a real rock, more like a pebble. The rock skidded along the dirt street for 10 feet and then began to do end-over-end flips until it finally came to a halt and went back to being stagnant. Boss, I know it's lame, but it's always funny to see your reaction. Naruto smirked but didn't say anything. So boss, where are you going? Naruto looked down, a bit surprised that Konohamaru was so interested in him. He wondered why sometimes. I'm off to Ichiraku's, then I'm going home to sleep before I start back up training tomorrow. The two walked towards Ichiraku's and finally arrived there after some small talk. Both ordered the same dish of ramen. Konohamaru asked why Ayame was so excited to see Naruto, trying to pry around with Naruto a bit to see if he already had a girlfriend, but Naruto immediately stated that he was the #1 customer of Ichiraku's and Ayame was just happy to see him. After 5 minutes, both Naruto and Konohamaru got their ramen and began eating. It was truly a sight to see, both pigging out to ramen and asking for more again and again. After a while, both left with going separate ways. Although he's a brat and reminds me of myself, I still like Konohamaru. Those stupid sneak attacks are funny too. He thinks that every time he is going to get me, but he never will be able to until he masters his technique. All of a sudden, Naruto was pulled from his inner thoughts from somebody calling his name. Hey Naruto, anybody in there? I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't. There is a reason you were dead last at the academy. All of a sudden a girl's laughing was heard. Naruto looked up and it was Ino Yamanaka. When Ino was around, that meant somebody had said something about him and she was going to try to get the truth behind a rumor. So Naruto, how was the mission? I heard that Sasuke did all the work and you did absolutely nothing and were useless. Great, looks like somebody's assumptions spread like wildfire. Wait a minute, didn't Sakura and Ino hate each other? I assume then that they came to some kind of understanding. Naruto was pondering that thought when all of a sudden a force was trying to penetrate into his mind. Naruto saw that Ino was in her jutsu pose and using her mind-body switch technique. All of a sudden though the force was bounced off Naruto and went back to Ino. What? How could this be? I was penetrating into his mind, Ino whined. Just what the hell was that red barrier that my mind-body switch force hit off of? It was very evil looking. Naruto began walking by Ino, hoping he would be able to pass without a word, but he decided to ditch that thought and as he walked by he whispered something in an inaudible voice to everybody but Ino. Please, don't try to mess around with me. Be warned though, that jutsu will never work on me. Naruto quickly moved towards his house at the same pace he moved towards it earlier for Kakashi's first test. Naruto could feel the improvement in his physical energy as he was faster than the last time. All I wanted was some stupid information, no need for him to get mad at me or anything. I've done that before on him and he didn't care. Wait a minute, back up. Naruto got mad. Naruto hasn't ever gotten mad before in front of me. The way he talked was scary though, it seems like he's changed a bit. Maybe that's what Sakura was talking about, he's probably just pissed off anyway. He can't hurt a fly though, he was dead last at the academy and probably has just slacked off and pulled pranks since then. I could beat him in just a few minutes. And with that, the Yamanaka walked off going back to her confident self as she was strolling the village looking for a way to kill time before she had to work another shift at the flower shop. Time skip next morning. Naruto had already woken up and had his breakfast, which included many outdated products but some newly bought milk. Naruto arrived at the training grounds where he and Kakashi met yesterday. Naruto showed up at the time when he was supposed to meet him, but surprisingly Kakashi was already there waiting for him. Whoa, Kakashi-sensei, I didn't know it was like you to be early. I guess there is a first time for everything. Kakashi smiled and handed Naruto a few things. I got these scrolls which contain Suiten and Futon release attacks. I don't expect you to have them down by the end of the day, but I expect you to have at least 4 down by the time we spar in 10 days. Naruto's jaw dropped. Wait, Kakashi-sensei, you said we are going to spar in 10 days. Yes, Naruto, I'm going to spar against you in 10 days to see how much progress you have made. That was explained to me by the Hokage yesterday when I reported on what we did in the afternoon. I must say that the Hokage is impressed with you having 2 different elemental affinities. The old man was impressed with me. Yes, Naruto, he was very proud of the way that you have progressed in so little time. Well, I have to be going, I'm late to the Team 7 practice again, and we have to go catch the cat again. Nothing like these fun D-ranked missions. Kakashi quickly dropped off 12 scrolls with Naruto, waved bye quickly and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. With Kakashi at the bridge. Kakashi landed on top of the bridge as Sakura and Sasuke was standing below waiting for him to arrive. Kakashi put his hand up in a welcoming motion as he spoke from above. Well, hi guys, sorry I'm late. Why are you always late? What's your excuse this time? Yelled Sakura. A young boy needed my help and I thought it would be noble of me to help him out. So this man is more important than Team 7. Yelled Sakura again. Why actually, he is very important, Kakashi said with a smile that could be seen through the covering of his mask. Kakashi was with Sasuke and Sakura as he explained the mission to catch the cat again. Sasuke seemed to care less about what they were doing and Sakura began complaining about how they as a team were not improving their teamwork and or getting stronger. However, both decided to do the mission and it was successful, but Kakashi throughout the whole mission was wondering how Naruto was doing. I hope he's okay, he should be able to handle some of that on his own. By the time I get back to his location, he should have completed the basic scrolls about chakra flow and the human anatomy. Kakashi went to Team 7's location and retrieved the cat to take back to the Hokage's headquarters. He dismissed both Sakura and Sasuke claiming that the day was over and he had some stuff to do later. I guess I'm picking favorites. Sasuke reminds me of myself in some ways, but Naruto has more of a cross between both me and Obito, maybe that's why I like him so much. Sakura is much like Rin. While she was my teammate, I would prefer hanging out with Obito alone over hanging out with her and Obito. Kakashi took the cat and immediately appeared outside the Hokage's headquarters. He brought in the cat and collected the money for the D-rank mission. Kakashi then began giving the details of the mission and how it was conducted. The other shinobi seemed impressed with Uchiha and how he has grown. I know he is the favorite of the village, but I also have to give him credit on how much he has grown. I know he trains by himself and is rivals himself against Naruto, but he has gained a lot of experience and his powers are developing more, thought Kakashi. Kakashi finished the report and then vanished in a cloud of smoke again, this time appearing outside of Training Ground 7. Kakashi saw Naruto, leaned up against a tree reading what one of the scrolls had to offer. Kakashi smiled a bit, thinking how peaceful he looks. Kakashi walked over to Naruto. Once Kakashi was within a few yards of Naruto, Naruto noticed him. "Hi Kakashi-sensei, are you back here after that mission? So how did it go?" Kakashi smiled a bit but wondered why Naruto was asking about his old team. "It went fine. Sasuke did most of the work and eventually caught the cat. Their teamwork is improving even though they don't realize it yet." Naruto smiled when he heard that Sasuke had taken over his position as the cat catcher. Naruto began laughing in his head when he thought about Sasuke getting clawed out by the cat. "Naruto, there is something that I have to tell you about though." Naruto's thought about Sasuke and the cat immediately vanished and he began paying full attention to Kakashi. "I have a feeling that the Chunin exams are going to be taking place soon. Probably right after my spar with you in 10 days. Naruto had a look of questioning in his face, thinking about what possibly the Chunin exams could be. "So what exactly are the Chunin exams?" Naruto questioned, finally thinking of the words to say after going through all the possibilities that the Chunin exams could be. The Chunin exams are a 3-part test in which the villages send all their genin to a certain location. The location this year happens to be Konoha. The genin compete in the Chunin exams through 3 parts. I'm not allowed to tell you what any of the parts are, but I can tell you that you have to be on guard at all times. If you pass all 3 stages of the Chunin exams and show your fighting prowess, then you will be promoted to Chunin from genin. Naruto put all that information through his head but still had a question. "Kakashi-sensei, how strong do you think I am and do you think I will pass the Chunin exams?" Kakashi smiled while thinking how easy it will be for Naruto to make it to the final stage of the Chunin exams, and then it was all up to the Hokage and his advisors to determine if anybody would be promoted to Chunin. "Naruto, I actually think of all the current rookie genin you are the strongest. That will be after I finish my training session with you in 10 days. I'm confident that if you fought against the entire rookie 9 that you would win against all of them, even Sasuke. Sasuke is your closest competitor though." Naruto began to smile as his sensei was praising him for the abilities he had. "Of course, that information is all based on the things I hear from the other Jonin who have genin teams. They could be lying, but I seriously doubt that they are. One more thing about the Chunin exams is that you have to watch out for the other villages' ninja. There could be an even stronger genin team from another village than the ones in Konoha." Naruto had taken that thought into full consideration earlier when Kakashi mentioned that all villages would be sending their genin into Konoha for this exam. "Another thing that I've wanted to ask you for a while, Naruto, is why are you going down this new path?" Naruto looked up at Kakashi, kind of surprised he brought it up. "Kakashi-sensei, I realized that the road to being Hokage is a longer road than I expected. It has many twists and turns and I have to be stronger to endure the whole path to get to being Hokage. But is there any other motivation besides than that? I mean, you do have a crush on Sakura. Are you training so you can impress her and beat Sasuke so she will have a fangirl crush on you?" "No Kakashi-sensei, I don't have a crush on Sakura anymore. What she did during our last mission together has shown me what a corrupt person she is deep down inside. I've decided that she doesn't even deserve any type of affection from me anymore. I've abandoned all thoughts of impressing her or trying to win her over. At the same time though, I've lost a lot of hate for Sasuke. I've actually begun to like him a little bit. I can understand where he's coming from now. What he sees in people and why he doesn't like them." Kakashi was surprised by the answer Naruto gave him. "I can tell that Naruto and Sasuke are like me and Obito, but in a different way. Both are very strong but still foil each other in many ways. Both are serious, but Naruto still has that childlike side to him while Sasuke acts years above his actual age. They are like each other in many ways, and Naruto finally realized that. I don't know about Sasuke though, he might have already realized this already. To be frank with myself, I haven't ever seen Sasuke actually make fun of Naruto." "Well, that's good to hear because during the Chunin exams you are going to have to be a part of Team 7 again. The Chunin exams are done in teams and the Hokage won't let you do the Chunin exams by yourself and doesn't want you to abandon your original team. That's fine. If I'm going to be the strongest out of the rookie 9 and Sasuke is the second strongest, I won't even have to worry about us even having teamwork issues, we can just outpower everybody on our way to the last stage. Naruto already had an idea of what the last stage is. Naruto had come to a conclusion that somewhere down the line that all the genins would have to eventually go one-on-one with each other to reveal all the true skills. That way the cages would see all of their skills to make a decision on who becomes Chunin or not. Kakashi had picked up on Naruto saying, to the last stage. I guess he has intelligence but never showed it, he already knows what the last stage is. You would be proud of him, Minato, but I hope you're proud of me as well for being his sensei. Alright Naruto, that's enough chatter for the day, we've spent quite a bit of time talking already. Why don't you go take an hour break? And then return to do another hour's worth of training before calling it a day. I've got to go somewhere now, so I'll be seeing you around. With that, Kakashi vanished into a puff of smoke. Naruto stood there in amazement on how Kakashi could just disappear like that. Naruto really wanted to be able to do that one day. Naruto's mind instantly went to the break and how he would spend it. Wait a minute, there are quite a bit of training grounds around here, let's go scout them out since I'm not hungry for anything and I would like to work on my stealth and speed skills. Maybe I can catch a genin or two training and watch their techniques before these Chunin exams start. Naruto sped of jumping from tree to tree going to see if anybody was on the other training grounds. 45 minutes later, Naruto had been making his way around the training grounds in what shinobi would consider a jog. All Naruto had been able to pick up on was a few Konoha Chunins practicing with each other. The Chunins had some skill but Naruto wasn't very impressed with them. I wonder after this training with Kakashi is over, will I be able to beat Chunin like them? Naruto was wondering this as he sped off to the last training ground to visit, Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death. Naruto arrived outside and looked at the fence which had danger signs all over it. Naruto was reading about the Forest of Death and the creatures that lay within it. This is cool, maybe I'll convince Sensei to come in and train after our spar and before the Chunin exams start, Naruto thought out loud. What did you say about going in the Forest of Death, Gaki? Naruto quickly spun around and saw where the other voice had come from. It came from a woman behind him. She had a long tan trench coat on with a fishnet top and a brown mini skirt covering the fishnet that she wore on her legs and hips. She also had purple hair that was pulled into a ponytail in the back. Who are you? All of a sudden Naruto heard a voice in his head, well not really a voice but more like a person throwing up. Damn it kid, I hate the smell of snakes, it makes me hurl and it pisses me off. Why? One of my two least favorite people on this planet smells like snakes. I thought I was one of your two least favorite people, at least that's what you told me before I went to sleep last night, talking about my stupidity when it came to training. You're my third least favorite person, feel happy. Now snap out of dreamland here and back to reality. Naruto came back to reality all of a sudden and saw that the woman that had stood before him was now behind him. All of a sudden Naruto had realized that he is bleeding from the cheek, and that the woman was licking up his blood. Your blood tastes good for some reason. WTF. Why is she doing this? Naruto broke free of her grasp quickly and stood his guard in front of her, ready for a fight. The woman starting laughing as soon as he was in his fighting stance. Naruto was getting angry. Listen Gaki, you are no match for me. I can tell that you're a mere genin while I'm a jonin. You wouldn't last more than a minute with me. Hearing this, Naruto stood down and went back to normal. So what's your name Gaki? The name is Naruto Uzumaki, so who are you and why did you pierce me with a kunai earlier? My name is Anko Matarshi, the blood-licking thing is a bad habit of mine. I have a question for you anyway, why are you outside the Forest of Death and why aren't you with your team? Naruto looked at the ground before answering, something was obviously troubling him about the question that Anko just asked. My team, I technically am with Team 7 but I don't really feel a part of the team. For the time being, I'm training on my own. While Naruto was saying this, he still was looking at the ground. Anko felt something within her start tugging at her to feel sympathetic for him. Who am I to judge him? The whole village has rejected me, wait a minute isn't this demon fox boy? I know that feeling Gaki. All of a sudden Naruto looked up into her eyes, all of a sudden he felt like there might be somebody in the village outside of Kakashi and Sarutobi that might understand him. The feeling of understanding, it was a good feeling to Naruto because not a lot of people ever were able to understand him. They always called him a demon. After his return to from the land of the waves, Kyuubi told Naruto that people rejected him because he was the holder of him. At first Naruto was mad but then understood. Naruto since then had gotten to like Kyuubi for what it was and could go to Kyuubi if he needed to talk about anything, although there was a little bloodlust that transferred over from Kyuubi to Naruto. Naruto remained the same and had apparently gained another friend. I know what you're going through, don't worry. I have a feeling that your sadness will eventually come to an end. This was the kid that Kakashi was telling me about earlier. He's got amazing potential and is also the holder of the nine-tailed fox. He's going to be a great ninja, let's just hope for his sake that his demons don't get the best of him. Plus, with the Chunin exams starting in 10 days, if he passes, his missions will be starting with other shinobi and kunoichi instead of his own team. Really you think my sadness will end soon? Naruto questioned, hoping for a positive answer. His team had put him in enough misery and on top of that, the whole village had rejected him. Yes, hey how about in about a week, I'll give you a tour of the forest of death. Really? You'll do that for me? Don't worry about it, I won't mind, that is at least if you can hold your own against the monsters that lay within there. Don't worry about that, my skills will be developed within a week, Naruto said confidently. It was now brimming off him as Naruto was then a good mood again. It made Anko happy inside for some reason. Yes, I'll give you a tour of that when you're done with your training. Speaking of which, don't you have to be somewhere? Naruto looked confused for a few seconds before realizing what she meant and then a grim look appeared on his face. Great. I'm going to be late back to the training grounds if I don't get a move on it. Kakashi is probably waiting for me back at the training grounds. If I make him too long he's going to suspect I'm at Ichiraku's. Bye Anko. I'll see you soon. Naruto quickly sped off but not before waving to his new friend. Bye Gaki. Be careful with that training with yours. Be careful, what am I saying? I sound like his mother. There is definitely something about him though. He said he's with Team 7, if I remember correctly that's Kakashi's team. If Naruto is getting trained by Kakashi on his own, well then Naruto is going to be very strong the next time I see him. Still, I'm getting way too soft. Pull it together Anko. With that thought, Anko jumped back into the forest of death to get her mind of the recent conversation with a certain shinobi. Training should get my mind off him for the time being. Meanwhile, Naruto was quickly jumping along trying to make it back in time. Kakashi had been appearing on time more recently, maybe it was because Naruto was so important to Kakashi now. Naruto quickly arrived with a few minutes to spare. Kakashi was already there. So you were out, where were you, Ichiraku's? Kakashi asked with a straight face, even though on the inside he was smiling because he thought he had caught Naruto in a trap. Actually I wasn't. Kakashi nearly face fell. He was positive he had him in a trap. Naruto was beginning to surprise him more and more of late. Kakashi had labeled him as unpredictable but he was becoming damn near impossible to read at all. Naruto, there is something that I want to teach you. It is not on one of the scrolls that I gave you with jutsu in them. Naruto looked up. He was eager to learn a jutsu he could use in battle. I'm sure you are going to recognize this when I use it. If my theory is correct, using the Kyuubi's senses with this attack, shadow clones and a taijutsu skill that is better than most, Naruto should be a great Chunin with this technique alone. I knew my Sharingan would one day benefit me in big way outside of battle. I guess it's teaching others jutsus like this. Kakashi spun through a few quick hand signs. Sweden. Kurigakur no Jutsu, water release, hidden mist jutsu. A thick mist enveloped both Kakashi and Naruto. This is the technique that Zabuza used against Kakashi. No wonder this technique is so good, I can't see anything. Wait a minute. All of a sudden, Naruto felt a tap on his shoulder. Kakashi was standing right behind him. Naruto could hardly even see Kakashi at such a close range. Kakashi had really put more chakra into the move than Naruto thought he would, therefore making the fog denser. As Naruto looked at Kakashi, the mist disappeared and everything returned back to normal. That's how effective the technique is. You can use shadow clones with that technique as well, and I'm guessing that your taijutsu is stronger than most people realize. That technique is only AD rank, but it is very effective. I don't want you using this move against many people though. I don't want many mist shinobi and kunoichis knowing we know one of their secret moves. If you run into a mist team at the Chunin exams, use anything but that move. Naruto understood. He had heard that there would be an imbalance if a village knew too many of another village's secret techniques. He knew Kakashi really couldn't help how he learned the technique, and neither one of them wanted to be the cause of a war between Konoha and Kiri. I understand, Kakashi-sensei. I'm going to try to master this technique quickly so I can go home, read some more and then go to bed early so I can train earlier tomorrow. Naruto flipped through the hand seals as he remembered Kakashi doing them. The first time Naruto did the technique, the mist was a little thin and Kakashi, who was standing in the mid-range attack zone, could see him. Naruto completed the move 5 times after that. Each time the mist got thicker until Naruto nearly made the mist as thick as Kakashi did. The attack feeds off one's chakra to make the mist as dense as possible. It's no wonder he is able to almost produce the technique at the same level as I can in such a short amount of time without using a major training helper. He definitely has Minato's blood running through his veins. Kakashi-sensei, did you like that? You did a good job, Naruto. You are dismissed for the day. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. I need my sleep now. Training for hours straight with no rest takes its toll on you. Bye, Naruto. Naruto used some of his remaining chakra to vault himself in the air and then he sped off towards his apartment complex. He's sure growing. At least he's done for the day. That gives me time to go buy the new Ika Ika book when it comes out tonight. I'm so excited. Time skipped to 2 hours later. Naruto was sleeping and was having a good nap when a familiar voice popped up in his head. Hey kid, you there? Naruto was groggy but woke up to see the Kyuubi. He was in the familiar sewer in his inner world that was shared with the Kyuubi. Yes, I'm awake. No, I'm not happy with you waking me up, and what do you want? Don't get snappy with me. You forget who I am. I'm the great Kyuubi. All who have met me have feared me. I'm going to ask the question again. What do you want? Kyuubi sighed to itself. Kids these days, they know nothing and don't fear big scary monsters anymore. Them and their stupid wannabe shinobi powers. You know I can hear what you're thinking, Kyuubi, and my powers aren't of a wannabe shinobi. Those powers are reserved for people like Ino and Sakura who are just fangirls and will never be kunoichis. I agree with you on that, Naruto. Those people are the type one don't like and I'm probably never going to like them. With that, Naruto got off his bed and began to put his ninja attire back on. Where are you going? That's a stupid question, Kyuubi. If you can read my thoughts, then you should be able to know what I'm thinking. Kyuubi was irritated because that brat had just outsmarted the great Kyuubi. Kyuubi then was smiling on the inside because the kid was growing, he had become smarter, had a proactive approach to getting stronger, and most importantly, Naruto was beginning to accept darkness and was bringing it into his life. Naruto left his apartment and was heading towards his special spot. I should have known this is where he was going. I'm actually kind of stupid for not thinking he would go here, Kyuubi thought to himself. Naruto was jumping from roof to roof with ease. A lot of things a ninja should be able to do had become easy to him. Naruto could now jump from roof to roof without the people below him hearing that one footstep. That's a Chunin level ability on its own. Most genin would land and you would be able to hear the footstep from inside the building. Naruto quickly was doing this and arrived at his destination with ease. Naruto, you see that fourth guy's image? I don't like him very much. This place is not a very kind place for me. I don't care, Kyuubi. This is more of my own place, and I know why you don't like that fourth image. That's the one who sealed you. Yay, and I know something about him that will be given to you in due time. It won't be for me to tell you but instead the Hokage, but that's all in due time. Naruto thought about going to his inner world for a second to try to obtain that thought from the Kyuubi, but Naruto quickly surmised that he was bluffing and just wanted Naruto to get frustrated. Okay, Kyuubi, I'm just going to pretend like you never said that. Naruto jumped to the top of Hokage Mountain and landed on the top. This was Naruto's favorite spot. You could see all of Konoha from this spot. For some reason this put Naruto's mind, body and soul at ease, being at the top near all of the Hokages. It was almost like they were looking out over him even though all the images were etched in stone and not real. Hey Naruto, I have to ask you something. What is it, Kyuubi? What are you going to do in the future? What do you mean by that? My future is here in Konoha. I'm asking that because the villagers don't like you here, it's almost better if you left the village for a while. After that you could come back to the village if you wanted, but if I were you, I would leave this village behind and go to a new village. So you're suggesting that after the Chunin exams that I leave this village? Not quite, not exactly right after the Chunin exams, but sometime right after. Why would I do that? I'm pretty sure that Sarutobi is going to see these vast improvements from me and is raising me up to be the next Hokage. Remember Naruto, to become Hokage you both need a vote of approval from the council and the people. Most of the people don't like you, so you lose that vote quickly. So, what about the council? Naruto asked quickly, hoping to get a positive answer. Alright, I'll sum up the council since you don't really know anything about it. Naruto quickly was losing a sense of what was happening around him and was listening to the Kyuubis speaking more intently than Naruto had intended. The council is made up of most of the elder Jonin of the village. Some of the Jonin on the council are the fathers of the people you went to school with, or the 8 who graduated from the academy. The only one else who I know is on the council is your sensei Kakashi. So out of that, you have 1 vote to get the Hokage position. Naruto became depressed all of the sudden. Kyuubi could sense this, but he was just telling him the truth. Naruto now knew that getting the position of Hokage would be near impossible. There is another way that you could get the position of Hokage. Naruto's hope was beginning to build inside of him. Naruto wanted to be Hokage more than anything in the world. He wanted to protect the village that he loved, even though they turned their back on him. You will have to take the Hokage position by force. Meaning that you will likely have to make a wager against the Hokage to try to get that position. Something like you putting up your citizenship to the village versus attaining the position of Hokage. Of course, the council still has to find you as worthy, but they would be so eager to get rid of you that they would pass you through without even thinking about the qualities of the position. You would instead only have 1 vote against that, Kakashi, but Kakashi is a smart man, he might see that you could beat the Hokage and actually pass you through as well. You are going to need time to build your strengths though, give yourself about 5 to 6 years and you will be ready to take on the Hokage. The gears in Naruto's head begun to turn, but then all of a sudden Naruto became saddened again. So in 5 to 6 years, I'm going to have to take on the old man? Naruto asked. Kyuubi had not thought of that. Kyuubi had nothing against the 3rd Hokage and had actually begun to respect him since he always looked out for Naruto and had the best in mind for him. I don't think the 3rd Hokage has much longer to live actually, it's just one of those instincts of mine that are telling me that. I don't know how he will die, but I just don't think he has a long time to live. If that happens, then you are going to be taking on somebody else. If the worst case scenario happens, you could be facing Kakashi himself. Naruto paled at the thought of that. He would have to take on his sensei and assume the position that Kakashi would have. Naruto regained his senses around him and looked up at the moon that was high in the sky. It was a beautiful night. No clouds were in the sky to block the moon and also block the light of the moon to shine down on the village. Naruto knew it was getting late and began his trip back to his apartment. Time skip to the next morning. Naruto rised from his bed and stretched his arms up. Naruto then got out of his bed and put on his ninja attire before making himself breakfast and heading out the door to training ground number 7. Naruto arrived to training ground number 7 and saw Kakashi at the memorial stone to honor the fallen shinobi and kunoichi. Kakashi turned around, smiled and began talking to Naruto. Hello Naruto, I'm just a clone because I've gone off on a mission with Sakura and Sasuke. I'll be back in a few days. What I want you to do is continuing practicing ninjutsu. I will be back with about 4 days left to help you with some taijutsu maneuvers. After that our training will be done and I will spar with you to see how much you have grown. Anyway, I'm disappearing now, so good luck with the training. With that, the Kakashi clone disappeared into a cloud of smoke and left Naruto there at the training ground by himself. Naruto spent the rest of the day training. Naruto had improved the hidden mist jutsu even more and had learned another jutsu with the Suiden release. Time skipped to 4 days left with the training. Kakashi was getting back from his mission with Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke was great as usual in the mission. Sasuke was showing great improvement with his Sharingan and was able to take on one of the enemy Chunin shinobi in one-on-one combat and almost defeated him if another one of the shinobi didn't sneak up on Sasuke and knocked him out. Sakura was well. Sakura, she didn't do much of anything, but the only strength she has is chakra control, but other than that, she still is useless. The mission was a success and Kakashi was collecting his reward for the C-rank mission. Kakashi was dismissed and immediately transported over to Training Ground 7. Training Ground 7. Kakashi arrived at the training ground and immediately began looking for Naruto. Kakashi figured that Naruto would be here since it was only the middle of the day and Naruto would likely still be training at this point. Kakashi was walking towards the memorial and then all of a sudden the area became dense with mist. The mist was heavily dense and a person could not see a foot in front of him. Well, at least I know he's here. Now all I have to do is find him. He's probably going to attack me to get a gauge of his strength. I should wait here for a few seconds. Kakashi stood in place for a few seconds when he noticed something attacking behind him at a rapid pace. The figure hit Kakashi in the back and knocked him over. Kakashi all of a sudden burst into smoke and the other person laughed at the clone that was on the ground. Still good as ever, I can hit him but he can clone his way out. Naruto thought to himself. Naruto lifted the mist and Kakashi popped out of a tree that was nearby. As Kakashi jumped out of the tree, he noticed that Naruto had changed his wardrobe. Naruto still kept the black cargo pants but the orange jacket was gone and was replaced by a black jacket that had orange and red flames on the back. He looked more like a shinobi now. The orange had him stick out way too much. I guess this is a way to say that Naruto really is taking his shinobi training seriously. That mist technique is getting really good as well. I wonder if he mastered the 6 jutsus I left him. I bet he did though. He wouldn't have done anything else until he mastered those jutsus. I see you have changed Naruto. I also see that you have mastered the hidden mist technique. Did you learn the rest of the jutsus, Naruto? Yes, Kakashi-sensei. I learned the rest of the jutsus and mastered some of them. I have almost mastered the rest. I must say, Kakashi-sensei, the jutsus that you picked really complement each other. You gave me both some mid-range and long-range jutsus. That was a really good jutsus that you picked. Kakashi smiled when his student complimented his intelligence and actually appreciated the tactic Kakashi initiated. Thank you, Naruto. So I see you noticed the jutsus complement each other. I'm impressed by that. Most people wouldn't notice that. Naruto smiled and put his hands behind his head into the Naruto position. Alright, I'm sure he already has good taijutsu skills, but it's now time to see how good he becomes after this. If this goes as planned, he will be mid-high Chunin level. Our lesson on taijutsu begins tomorrow. I had too many people to fight on the last mission and I need a day of rest. Naruto was expecting Kakashi to vanish in a cloud of smoke, but he didn't. Instead, Kakashi walked up to Naruto and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. How about we go to Ichiraku's? I can see you've been training hard and I'm exhausted from taking on 5 shinobi that aren't C-ranked ninja. Naruto smiled and both Kakashi and Naruto headed off to Ichiraku's. Both enjoyed their ramen and were having a good conversation when another Jonin showed up. Ah, Kakashi, how are you doing? Behind him was a woman who was dressed in white and had red eyes with black spirals in them. She had the Konoha headband in its standard position over her forehead with the rest of it besides the Konoha symbol covered in her long black hair. Kurenai, what brings you around these parts? I've heard of her somewhere. I think she might be another Jonin with a team from the same academy graduating class as him. He hadn't really seen her before but had heard her name mentioned once or twice. Kurenai noticed the younger of the two over on the other side of Kakashi with the black shinobi gear. She was intrigued that Naruto would be that open with the orange and red flames on his gear. Everybody who had seen flames has associated them with the 9-tailed fox that attacked the village 13 years ago. I can also tell that Naruto has gotten very strong. I can sense his chakra signature has gotten very strong. He is easily stronger than my whole team and his strength is above the rookie 9. He's only rivaled by Neji and Sasuke. Oh, I was just walking around the village before I went back to training with my team. So what are you two both doing here during the middle of the day when you should be with your team? Oops, slipped on that one. I forgot that Naruto left his team to train for 1.5 weeks. Hopefully he doesn't get mad. Naruto was angered by that question. Surely this woman knew Naruto was training on his own, or as the village had circulated, abandoned his team for his own purposes. Kurenai looked up at Naruto, who walked off and then sped off towards the east. Good work, Kurenai. If you were as good with your genjutsu as you were with your words, then you wouldn't be a very good kunoichi. Very amusing, Kakashi. So how is Naruto progressing? I'm sure you got some time to visit him after you came back from your mission today. Yes, Kurenai. I have gotten some time with him today and he has grown very powerful. You should know that he's probably the strongest of the rookie 9 right now. I already know that, Kakashi. I already know a lot about him. As you know, one of my students, Hinata Hyuga, has a crush on him. Yes, Kurenai, I know how to train him, but I don't know about his personality. He has already endured so much and the darkness is beginning to seep into his life slowly. His personality has already changed from the once always happy Naruto to a cold Naruto who only shows his true happiness to those close to him. Unfortunately, he won't be able to make any new friends because people will see him as untouchable and with the inability to feel. That's the only part of him that I'm concerned about. Other than that, he's always going to be loyal to Konoha. Kurenai looked at Kakashi. Kakashi was being brutally honest, and it was a rarity that Kakashi didn't know what he was doing. Kakashi hadn't still as the smartest person in Konoha, and to see him puzzled about someone is a 1 in a million chance. I'm starting the last segment of our training tomorrow. It's going to be all taijutsu and he's already fairly good with that, so he will be Chunin level with everything but genjutsu. He shows no sign of any ability to do anything but disperse a simple genjutsu. Then again, we all can't be as good with genjutsu as you, Kurenai. Kurenai smiled and had a little bit of a blush on her face. Thank you, Kakashi. Hopefully you will be able to dispel all the darkness surrounding Naruto. I don't want to deal with the consequences if you cannot get rid of it. One of the members of my team will never be the same again. With that thought, Kurenai pictured a certain Hyuga heiress down on her knees and crying, knowing that Naruto would never appreciate the kindness she would have to offer him. I have to go anyway. My team is probably going to be showing up at our training location in a few minutes and I don't want to be late. That would mean I would have to use an excuse saying that I got lost on the path of life. Kakashi smiled as Kurenai was obviously making fun of one of his favorite excuses for showing up late. Bye, Kurenai. Next time try not to upset my students so much when you are around them. Kurenai disappeared with a smirk on her face. She knew Kakashi was being sarcastic and wouldn't say anything hurtful like that to her. Back at Naruto's apartment. Fox, I finally get it. I finally get what you were saying a few days ago. Nobody in this village appreciates me outside of the old man, Kakashi-sensei and Iruka-sensei. Did you see how she acted, asking the question like I wasn't even there or didn't know my situation? Am I this unimportant to the village? Like I don't even have any feelings? You got to admit, Kit, she was kind of hot. I don't notice those things because I see everybody in the village is corrupted because that's how they view me. You have grown different. Maybe I am starting to be a bad influence on you if you don't even recognize a woman's charms. No, Fox, you are a good influence on me. Look what you have made me do. You made me realize that if I stayed the way I once was, then I was going to be forever weak, and for that I am eternally grateful. I couldn't have looked myself in the mirror if I saw an older version of myself that was not Hokage. Naruto, you really need to cool it right now, you're becoming too unstable, even for my liking. The last thing I want right now is to see you go unstable and ruin half the village. You really don't want to become a missing nin and have hunter nins all over your every move. Naruto sighed, and then finally realized he was getting a bit unstable. Naruto cooled it down and decided to get a quick nap in before he went up to Hokage Mountain for the night and then started his taijutsu training tomorrow morning. Time skip to 3 days later. Alright, Naruto, I think that will be enough for the day. Your taijutsu has improved greatly and you are tired. Thank you for the training, Kakashi-sensei. I'm looking forward to the spar tomorrow. Hopefully I can show you how good I have become. With that, Kakashi vanished in smoke and Naruto quickly sped off back to his apartment. Unknown to Naruto but known to Kakashi, there was somebody in the trees near where Kakashi and Naruto were training. The trees allowed a perfect view of the training ground that the two had been fighting on. You have become very good brother.